And then I would like to introduce Emily Reynolds. She is our account rep through Onboard, and she's been doing all the training for me and Shalonda, it's been a learning curve, but she's actually going to do the training today. So throughout the training, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop and ask her the questions, but I'm going to turn it over to Emily.
Great. Thank you so much, Tammy. And thanks everyone for taking some time to learn about Onboard today. So like Tammy said, it's the new software that you're going to use to facilitate your board meetings. And I look forward to giving you an intro today of how it works. As we start, is there anyone by way of wave of hand that uses Onboard for another board that you're on? Okay, well, I look forward to showing you the basics of getting started today. And first, just to give an idea of why use Onboard. So we know that all your time is really valuable when you come together, and we want to maximize that time for what's most important so you guys can talk about future business and strategy by minimizing the time needed to locate documents and do administrative procedures, that kind of thing. Onboard is also very secure, and you can access across devices. We get a lot of great feedback about our app from board directors accessing it on the go. So first, we'll start off with how to access Onboard. So from your computer, you'll want to go to app.onboardmeetings.com, and I just put that in the Zoom chat. If you're at your personal computer right now, you might want to go ahead and bookmark that URL so you can log in on your computer. And then secondly, our free app is called Onboard Meetings. You will see a few apps that use the word onboard in the title. So you are in particular looking for Onboard Meetings, whether you are an iPhone or Android user, or if you have a tablet, definitely recommend that you download that and check it out. All right, so let's look at logging in here, and I'm going to be sharing with you from my portal. So you're just going to see my test data, and Tammy's have been hard at work getting your information ready. So you'll look forward to seeing that very soon. I'm going to log in here. Okay. All right, and as I'm logged in, initially this menu on the left side of the screen, the purple stripe, will be collapsed. You might want to expand that as you get oriented to know where everything is. You can see that we've landed on the dashboard where there might be any important announcements or anything that your organization wants to draw your attention to. But the most important part of the site and our training today is calendar, because calendar is where your meetings live. So I'm going to click there. And then as I scroll in mine, you can see that my meeting line items are listed chronologically, and I can go to a particular date to access that meeting agenda and board book if I need to ever come back and reference that. But let's look at one of my fully built out meetings here in August and take a look at how this works. So we'll go through kind of an order of events when a meeting is published to you. You're going to get an email letting you know that you have a new meeting being published. If you have our app with notifications on, you'll see a notification as well. So you can click through on either on that, and it will take you here to the meeting detail page. And you can see as I scroll down, we have the meeting agenda with the different files pertaining to each section. So what I would recommend that you do first is to RSVP to the meeting right here, and you can indicate if you're attending or attending remotely, etc. This is also how you can get it on your calendar. After you do that, it'll ask if you want to download the event for your calendar. Okay, so your next step is to review the board book and the agenda in advance. So clicking on open book, Onboard has compiled all the files from the agenda in order into a meeting packet or board book for you. And on the left side of the screen, we have the meeting agenda here to scroll through. And then on the right side of the screen, we're on page 1 of 76, because again, those 76 pages are all of those files in a row. This meeting agenda on the left, as well as the table of contents, they're both clickable. So you can click to jump down to a particular section that you want to review. And then, like I mentioned, the table of contents here at the top, this is also clickable. So you can jump to a section that way. A few other things about navigating the book: you can maximize the screen here with the arrows in the top right corner. And then this magnifying glass is a great way to search any term when you want to go back and find a particular page. I know that some board books can get quite lengthy. And if you have reviewed a page you want to go back and find, this term search can help give you all the instances in the packet for you. So you can see I have a bunch of demonstration notes here. And so you can take notes in Onboard. And let me get to a page with less and show you how that works. Here we go. So this right here is a marker that you can use to draw on the screen. You also have a highlighter available to you. And then these last two are for typing. So you can type on the screen with this one. Or with the last one, it is basically a placeholder where you can add notes on the left-hand side of the screen, the annotation tracker. And this one makes sense, you know, if you might be adding more notes, like a few sentences, there's not really room to display that text on the screen. This yellow word balloon will be a placeholder indicating that those notes are on the left side in your annotation tracker. So everyone's question at this point is who can see these notes, and it's just for you. It's not being shared with the group, but it is across all of your devices. So if you're taking notes today on your computer when a meeting is published to you, say in a couple of days you're traveling and accessing from your smartphone or tablet, your notes will be there across devices. Okay, I'm going to stop right there and see if there's any questions so far. All right.
Emily, do we have our board packet for next week we can look at and do this, since we're all part of the board, or do we need to look at an example today?
Great question. I'm gonna let Tammy answer that.
Emily, I think we can show yours because you have the voting and stuff, and then after that, then we can go. And then let's go ahead and go and share mine. Like I'll let you give you control of it. That way they can actually see what it's going to look like. So yes.
That sounds great.
Yeah, combo. So.
Yes, sounds great. We'll go to your meeting here in just a moment. It's great. Okay, so next I just want to show you can do certain actions in Onboard, like vote, do an e-signature or a survey. I'm going to show you a survey. So let's look as I scroll down in my meeting, those actions are indicated by these blue links. So you can see at the end in my meeting wrap up, I have a survey. When I click on that, this is how I can take the survey. I just click take survey, and you can see just kind of a standard meeting feedback survey right here. Okay. Now, on meeting day, I'm going to talk to you about what it might look like for you to join remotely, especially because we all have different devices available to us, and while many of us are still remote. So at the time of the meeting, you'll click on Join Remote. That's going to pop your Zoom audio and video window up at the time. And so you will be joining that way. That way you're going to have Onboard up and the Zoom window up, so you can scroll through your notes or the agenda as needed while you're seeing everyone. So if you're on your laptop or just a computer, for example, just bring up your Onboard screen and then click on Join Remote to do that. And then they will both be on that screen. Now, depending on what devices you have available, here are some scenarios you might find extra helpful, even more than that. If you have a workstation with 2 monitors up, I suggest you might want to bring this up and bring the Zoom window up on one screen so that you can see the video and the audio of everyone, and if there's a screen share, and then on the other screen have up Onboard so you can scroll through your notes and the agenda as you want. So depending on, again, on what devices you have, if you have a computer and a tablet, another example is on the computer, you could bring up Zoom with your audio and video there. And then on the tablet, bring up the Onboard app and you can scroll through the agenda and your notes that way. All right. Well, any other questions about the meeting experience before I show you something else, and then we'll look at your upcoming meeting? Okay, so the other section I wanted to show you here is resources. This is where files will be stored that you need to access, that you might need to access across time. For example, policies and bylaws, meeting minutes, that kind of thing. You can see as I click in here, just a very standard subfolder organization situation that you would recognize. I can click on this PDF of meeting minutes to access. As you can see, as it loads here, it's a pretty straightforward way to reference a file. And all of this is permission based. So if you have some files that need to be organized or accessed by a certain subgroup or something like that, it can certainly be set up that way. Okay, also wanted to share with you Messenger. This is a way that you can send a message to an individual or the group. For example,
Actually, Emily, we have disabled that because of sunshine laws.
Got it. Okay.
It's a good feature though, but we can't.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop that. And then do you want to share your screen where you can look at your upcoming meeting?
Yes, and I can let you have control of it like we did the other day.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay.
Hey, Emily, while that's loading, if you're taking notes, you have to press save, or is it save it automatically?
Good question. It saves it automatically. So if you actually don't want to note, then you're going to have to delete it. So it will save automatically. You don't have to hit save. As soon as you highlight something, it's saved. You just if you don't want it, then you'll go in and delete it. And actually, I'll show you how that looks. So we're looking at the August 19th meeting, right, Tammy?
Yes, that's correct.
Great.
So Emily, I'm following along on my Android device, and either I'm not pushing the right button because I can't see what I'm looking at on your screen.
Okay, let's see. It's probably not published. Yes, that's correct. So in the top right-hand corner, Tammy still has this unpublished. So you will see it when it's published. So if that's the case, if that's anything the case, and what I'm saying, feel free to bring up anything else, but it's probably just because it's not published to the group yet. Because I know there's a little bit in the setup that takes some time. So, but thanks for asking.
It should be published. I plan on publishing it either later on today or tomorrow morning.
Great.
I'm almost done with the meeting packet, so.
Great. Okay.
So tomorrow's session and the training tomorrow, well, you could actually go through it and look at it on the devices, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's the plan.
Okay.
Great. So here we have your meeting that's coming up, and this is content that you all will recognize here in your agenda, the files, which I know sounds like are about to be finalized. And then again, all these files are compiled together in one view. Let me scroll to the bottom first. Okay. All these files are compiled in order together into this open book section right here. And there we go. And then, like we said, this is either side of these are clickable. And that was a great question about the notes. Let's do like a highlight. Let's say I want to highlight this. I don't have to save this. This will automatically be there across all my devices. Just if I want to delete it, then I can click on that and then I can delete. So that's how that works. Okay.
And then Emily, you want to show how you can actually download it if they wanted a copy of it?
Yeah, great call. So if you want to download something in particular, if you want to download a file to print so that you can take some notes on it with pen or pencil, you have two options. If you want to download just one file, go to that file in your agenda and then click this cloud with the down arrow. That's going to download that file and that file only. You can see that we have this for each file here. If you want to download that whole entire board packet, then you can do that here under downloads. And let's look at your options you have here. You can download the whole book as a PDF first. The second one is the book with your notes, if you want to have a copy with your notes downloaded, or you can just download the agenda. Okay. All right, any other questions or also while we're together, if there's anything process that happens in your meeting that you want to bring up and how that's facilitated through Onboard, I'm happy to help with that.
Emily, you want to talk about how you can view how many documents are being viewed and to help?
Yes. Thanks, Tammy. So here at the top, so again, we're on the meeting details page right here. For every single meeting, you can click on this analytics tab at the top. This shows the data for viewing the meeting. What I mean by that is it's going to show how many people from your meeting have viewed it in a 2-week time window, and before the meeting, on the day of the meeting, and the week after. It's also going to show how many people have viewed the book, and then what sections, agenda sections, that they're spending time on. So we don't call people up by name. That's not the purpose of it. It is just the purpose of seeing general activity here. So this meeting hasn't been published, so that's why the numbers look like it does, but you can see the meeting views, you can see how many people have accessed the book, and then as we scroll down, you can see all the agenda sections and what time people are spending reviewing those particular sections. You can even view what sections people are taking notes on. So a great use of this would be like if you were going to spend a huge part of your meeting reviewing section 12, then you would probably want to call to everyone's attention that to spend a little more time reviewing that than some of the others. Versus, maybe tons of people are reviewing section 4 and you don't have really time to discuss that. Thinking if you need to revisit that to spend more time in the meeting. So this just kind of gives an idea of that. Again, it's not calling anyone out by name, but it is giving number of views and activity, and you all can all see this for all your meetings. Okay. I'm going to show just a few other actions that you will experience here in Onboard. Let's see here. Do you mind stopping your screen share for a moment, Tammy? Awesome, thank you. Okay. So the voting experience when you come to approve your meeting minutes, something like that, this view approval is indicating I'm divided into a vote. And then here I have my voting options, yes, no, and abstain. I can view the meeting minutes here in the Word document. And then when I'm ready to vote, come back and vote yes, no, or abstain. And then similar is the e-signature experience. It's exactly what you would expect, that you click through the link when you're prompted to sign something, and then you will have a signature block that you can sign. Here's my signature block. And then I can sign here with my mouse, which is always harder than doing it with pen, but there we go. And you can save it for later use if you want. If you don't really like the mouse experience, you can upload an image of your signature in your profile in the bottom left corner. And then you only have to do that once, and then you can sign with that image of your signature every time. So on that note, under profile, I'll just show you that this is where you can save your basic information as it loads. I feel like my internet's being a little slower than normal. There we go. That's your basic profile information. And then here under settings, if you ever need to change your login ID or password, your email or password with Onboard, you can do that at the top. And then lastly, I just want to show you under alternative notification addresses. If any of you have an assistant you want copied on the email notifications, like when a meeting is published or when you're invited into a vote, you can do that here. just enter in their email address. It does not create another login for them. It just copies them on those notifications of the important happenings. Other board members, I have seen them use this for an alternative personal email address when they want those notifications to go somewhere else. And this is actually where you can upload the image of your signature if you prefer that experience. Okay, anything else? That's actually all I was going to cover today. Any other questions or anything on anyone's mind as we wrap up here?
Yeah, so Emily, I have a question. So if we're unable to make a meeting for a conflict, because I have a conflict, is there a way to go and note that prior to the meeting to say, hey, I am unable to attend? Did you touch upon that?
Yeah, but no, I mean, briefly, let's go back, and I think it's a great question. So I'm going to go into my August meeting. You just go to RSVP to meeting, and then you can indicate that you're not able to attend. So
what's the difference between that and attendance right next to it?
Great question. This is actually attendance report. So this will be more used to just see who's able to come by your meeting administrator. So it's more that's the list of people's RSVP response, but then you'll RSVP here.
Okay. And then one other question is probably not, just generally speaking, if I am a member of another board, I am members of other boards, but if they use Onboard, do we use the same Onboard? I mean, do we use the same password and log?
Great question. Great question.
Yeah.
Yes, as long as the following is true. That experience is, you see right here, I'm in my sample organization called ABC Healthcare.
Yeah.
If I was in more than one board,
Okay.
I mean, because I work for Onboard, I'm in all my coworkers portals, so that's why I have a million. You likely won't be on this many boards with Onboard, but you would have 2 or 3, depending on how many. If you were on another board that uses Onboard, it would be here, like ACA Board of Directors. And so after you log in, you choose which organization's board portal that you want to log into. And this is true assuming that they use the same email address. Onboard sets it up this way, as long as both boards you're on use your same email address to log in. So if that's important and that's not happening, let us know. We can converge that so that you only have one login. So that's a great question.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
I have a question. This is more for Tammy. Tammy, we don't have any intent to change the way we make motions or do seconds or vote through this process, correct?
Not at this time. If I can get everybody on board to use Onboard and trained on it, we could potentially do live voting the day of the meeting. I have no intention right now to have voting out days ahead of the time. So
It's
yeah.
fair to say that this is really meant to be just another way to get information to the board members so they can read it, take notes, pre-read, look deeper in the data. If there's people who want to go deeper in the data that Chad has, for example, this is the vehicle to do it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And sometimes I'm waiting on one item before I can send the packet out. This way I can send it out easily and then just send a revision out so you guys can go ahead and start reviewing the material and not wait for that one last item that
And
I'm
if
waiting
there is
for.
a revision, then you can flag a revision as that. And then you don't have to deal with a whole nother 200-page PDF or something, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really easy for you guys to go back and review previous packets. It's going to be a nice format for you as well. So
Tammy, this is Osea again. How are we notified that information is uploaded or out there for review? Will we get an email, or do we have to periodically go and check Onboard? How do we know that?
correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, but once I publish the meeting, you'll get a notification that it's ready to review.
That's exactly right. So Tammy's going to control that. So she will send the email when the meeting is initially published. If there's a little tweak, she can make little tweaks and not notify you. If there's a significant republish, like let's say there's that one file she talked about she might be waiting on, and then when she comes through and publishes that again, she does have the option to notify you again of a significant republish of a meeting. So you would also get notified that way. If you do use some of those actions like a survey or vote outside of a meeting, you would get an email that way. So yeah, mostly just the important things. Tammy can control most of that. And so she will just notify you when something important happens in Onboard via those email notifications.
Okay.
Also, when you log into Onboard, here under notifications, it's going to be a listing of your notifications that have come through since the last time you logged in. There will be a red circle if you haven't, if there's some unread ones. So that's also a way that you can kind of keep track once you log in of activity that's happened since the last time that you logged in.
Okay, I was wondering if we would have to go out and check every day or every other day or something.
Yeah, no. Well, we realize you're not in a board portal software every day because that's not part of your everyday life. So certainly have it set up to send you notifications when it's important and not when it's not. That's the idea.
And
And
that's
I will
something
have
that would
go ahead,
apply
Ms. Bach.
to subcommittee meetings as well, right? Any subcommittee meetings that get posted or packets for those meetings, right?
That's correct. That's correct, Mr. Bach. And I will have to say that until everybody, I can get everybody trained, you're actually going to get notified twice, one through Onboard and one the old fashioned way through Outlook. That'll actually you'll download the packet and send it. And for those who still are trying to learn Onboard, so you'll get double notified at the next few meetings until everybody's comfortable with it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So you will have the final packet up or the real packet, so to speak, up for tomorrow's training session. And for those of us that went through today, we can just go in and tomorrow sign in and go in and play with it, right? Read it.
Yes, I'm hoping if not later on today, tomorrow. I'm still waiting on one item and it should be out for everyone to review.
Okay, thank you.
So one final question, since this is being recorded, how do we access the recording if we need to go back and refresh what Emily has taught us today?
I should be able to send a link out to everyone to access is what I plan on doing. Yep.
All right, thanks.
That was a great question. If you ever want to access any of our help materials for yourself, here in this help section, and then I recommend going to Help Center, there's some articles and like just a guide about how to log in and find a meeting. There's some videos, stuff like that. So if you ever want a refresher training that we produced, that is where you can access it. Then obviously Tammy, like she said, recorded this particular one if that serves you to revisit this.
And if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me as well. And then if I don't know the answer, I'll be reaching out to Emily to help me out.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants a 2.0 training with more of the features in mind, that if a board member ever takes me up on that, it can really serve your meeting, adopting some more processes to make it more efficient. So you're welcome to do that. Just contact Tammy if so.
I do have one question. Tammy, this is Don. If Mike ends up talking too much during a meeting, is there a button or something that we can press? Just curious.
I don't know how to answer that, Mr. Don.
It's so funny. I love it. I have to say, we actually have a meeting pacer. So
that's right.
That wants to just
That's good. Does it have like an electric shock or something?
Yeah, I know,
That would be
right?
nice.
Something uncomfortable. That's a great. I'm gonna give that that suggestion. That's hilarious. Okay, I'm turning mine on right now so you can see. I know you were joking, but you can see this red line goes at a pace of what you've indicated for each section. If you choose to turn it on, I feel like boards I work with either love this or they hate it and so they would never use it. So it's going to just go at the pace that is allocated for each section in real time. And it'll advise you with the stripe along the screen at 15-minute countdown when you're towards the end. So.
Nice. You just became my best friend.
That's right. You're proving my point. People either love it or hate it.
And probably his only friend.
That's funny.
There is no probably to that.
Hey, I'm everybody's friend and nobody's friend at the same time, so I'm not really worried about it.
Oh, goodness. Anything else? I'm super excited about Onboard. I think it's going to be very helpful for everyone. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. Is Steve Morey asleep? He has his head down. No, there he is.
There he is. He's awake now.
I am awake. Thank you for your concern. Appreciate that. It's good to know that there's people looking out for you.
That's what we're here for, Bubba. No, well done. One thing administratively, Tammy, what does it take for you and Doug to unload all the stuff you have to for a meeting into this system? Because I was looking at it as Emily was going through the structure, the data formats and where you find stuff is quite different. From an administrator, I can't help but think this is a front end load for Tammy and Doug to get the stuff in there for every meeting.
Yes, and it's a lot easier because actually you can upload any type of a document, whether it's Excel, PDF, or Word. The other way, I had to convert everything to PDF. And it's real nice. It's once I get the information material, it's super easy to upload to Onboard.
Pleased to hear you say that. I was thinking of all the extra work you had to do just to make this thing usable.
No, now the packet when you download it is definitely different looking, which you'll see when I email it out than the old fashioned way. But I think it's meant to, view online, and I think it's gonna be really nice for you. I like it. So it's gonna be easy to find information.
Yeah, I'm pleased to hear you say that, because looking at the broad view of the thing is that it gives all of us the ability to go to one spot. We don't have to independently save all the documents and then flush them out. It's all, I assume it's cloud-based stuff. So it's all sitting in one general repository, so everybody can go in at their pleasure and look at the stuff, and they don't have to worry about saving things. That as I see, is the big plus to this. But the big brother, Emily, going back to this idea of that little bar graph, the frequency graph going up, who's reading what, how many people are reading this or that? Oh, that's Big Brother personified.
Big brother for your board meeting.
Yeah, Mikey, you better click on every item in there, even if it's a faux click.
Okay. All right. I think if anybody else, is that it?
All good.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for taking the time and joining the training. I'll send a link out to the video here shortly after I get the packet finished. But yes, thank you everyone for joining. And Emily, again, if you could hang on a little bit afterwards, that would be great.
I definitely will. Thanks, everyone.
Nice job, Emily. Thank you.